A Russian mathematician died in 1922, and over 100 years later, his math is key to explaining why your TikToks go viral. Andrei Markov invented Markov Chains in order to win an argument against another mathematician. They're the key to understanding how algorithms look at outcomes, from how TikTok's For You page works to YouTube's recommendation and up next. And once you understand how they work, you can literally start to predict what content will perform before you even post it. These algorithms aren't really random, and they're not even that smart. They're basically playing a super rapid at scale game of if this, then probably that. Still with me? Good, because here's where it gets super interesting. Every platform is running multiple Markov chains. Every platform is effectively running multiple algorithms simultaneously. So for YouTube, you have the search algorithm. This looks at what you type. Google, but with videos. Browse, that's your homepage. Suggested, that's the candy bar at the end of the counter. And Shorts, basically a ripoff of TikTok, as close as they can approximate. But TikTok's got their own setup. TikTok starts with the FYP. All of this works on an interest graph, which works off of what you actually like. Now, if you add friends on TikTok, that will pull things in from your social graph, overlaid with your interest graph. And then finally, search, the bar at the top. When you know what you're looking for, that one video about the guy with the thing, right? Or you're looking for a product review to see if TikTok made you buy it. Meta has been doing this for years. You can think back even to Cambridge Analytica, looking at the social graph to predict how people would vote. They're running parallel social and interest graphs now across Reels, Stories, Facebook, and Threads. Effectively, they're tracking you across both. And if it feels like every time you talk about an item, somehow it shows up in a Facebook ad 5 minutes later, don't worry, get the exact same feeling. So here's the play. Instead of throwing content at the wall, like my toddler used to throw spaghetti at the wall, you need to map out your journey. This works very well from SEO and other outcomes that you've mapped across your org. So think about it this way. In a Markov chain, you have different states. State number 1 is awareness. So from here, we can kind of map it out to go, the first time somebody sees one of your videos, 30% swipe away immediately. Didn't like it. 50% watch, but don't necessarily engage or finish. They're kind of in purgatory. 20% either finish the video or take some sort of action, click, like, share, and that puts you into the algorithm's good graces. Now, the crazy part is that 50%, they're not lost. They're in what's known in a Markov chain as a transition state. The algorithm is literally calculating the probabilities of what they'll engage with next, or with your brand next. The math kind of breaks out like this. Engaged tomorrow, watch today, breaks out at about a 0.35, which means if somebody watches but doesn't engage, there's about a 35% chance they'll engage if the algorithm shows your content again tomorrow. So how do you do this? How do you guarantee that once you post, you start to make sure that these folks will see it again? Well, you don't just post once. You start to post patterns that match up to the chain. All right. So what does this look like in the real world? And effectively, it's what I've been doing over time to ramp YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for a variety of clients. Step 1, kind of the opening salvo, is understanding what you have from a content perspective, what you're making, and what your outcomes are, defining them all. Then understanding your performance benchmarks, actual data, actual insights, and kind of pulling those together. Number 2, it's looking at your cross-platform strategy. Each platform has its own demographics, own expectations. And so ensuring that the data that you're putting in front of those platforms matches up to the use cases that you're seeing. This should also be within your Google Analytics data or another platform that you're using. Number 3, platform agnostic. You cannot go into this caring where discovery happens. That is up to the user. Users flow like water through the path of least resistance. And that path of least resistance are the apps and platforms they're already comfortable consuming in a way that brands, whether it be sports teams, e-commerce brands, understanding that these folks are on a platform where they're comfortable, A, engaging with content, and B, likely transacting, means that if you meet them on the platform where they are, you will have a much lower bar to acquiring new users, new consumers, and others. And then the multiplication effect, right? We start to learn what content is resonating with our audience and our demographics. We are then able to have our entire customer journey from, awareness, consideration, all of the stages, finally into purchase, and then down into brand zealot, right? I want somebody who not only buys, but is uploading reviews, telling everybody why they should also buy my product and going out and doing this. And this becomes your network effect. And so what you've just done is created what's called a strongly connected component in graph theory. Effectively, your user journey in every piece of content is mapped and pointing to other pieces. We do this in a wide variety of ways, but through the technical setup, additionally, how and when we post, how we engage with the content. So this sets it up. But what this really does is it teaches the algorithms to see your content as authoritative. For my old SEO friends, domain authority for years was what Google used to assign value to websites. The higher the domain authority that your website had, the more likely Google was to show it high up in the search results. Now, because that old formula relied on UTM data to really pull in a lot of that information. Current social media apps don't typically do that. Meta does a better job of passing along organic Facebook and Meta data to Google Analytics. TikTok doesn't at all. Most organizations aren't actually set up to effectively capture and use their SEM data, their UTM data in organic social to inform their paid efforts. Now, the attribution problem. Here's the real part that makes, this very difficult inside the traditional orgs and D2C shops. Traditional attribution is kind of crap. Your Google Analytics says that somebody converted from a Facebook ad. Cool story. It really doesn't capture that they probably saw 6 or 7 TikToks, 2 YouTube videos, and a LinkedIn post potentially before they ever clicked on that ad. So last touch really doesn't explain this out. Now, breaking this out across the chain, a multi-touch model or, understanding how a Markov chain would break this out. Effectively, what we do is we start to understand the percentage chances of each action happening. So from one state to another, does it repeat? How does it go into this chain? Once we understand kind of what the outcomes that we're looking to drive, what the percentage chances are, we're then able to extrapolate over a long enough time. What are the likely outcomes that we're driving with these? It also allows us to more effectively model the impact of things like YouTube thumbnails, on click-through rates, TikTok SEO for driving various outcomes, and then additionally new sources of traffic that are able to drive in because you are able to then model out, here's the amount of content that I have, here's the actions that I'm driving with that content, here's how we're linking it all together, and you're better able to see. Now, how does this look in reality? Typically, most people with a multi-touch model assign credit to every touch point based on, perception of value, perceived value, assigned value, but what they're not looking at is the actual stats that drive the algorithm. That TikTok video that only got 10,000 views, but had an 80% completion rate, it's worth way more than a Facebook ad with 100,000 impressions and a click-through rate of, 0.5, 1%. So when you break out the removal effect calculation, it shows, by taking away low performing TikTok, the math proves it. Removal effect calculation shows that taking away the low performing TikTok reduces your overall conversions by 23%. And that taking away the high performing Facebook ad, 8% reduction. Makes sense, right? most marketers would agree that 93% of your overall brand is from marketing. Less than 8% should be from, 8 to 10% should be advertising in that mix. Your boss really doesn't want to hear that the interns meme is driving more revenue than the branded content sponsored post that they just paid some influencer $100,000 for. So what does this actually mean? Effectively, it's adding intentionality and structure rather than, in most cases, what is a random shotgun posting brand safe or brand approved content and hoping that the algorithm gods smile down on you. Or you can plan for the inputs that the algorithms are looking for and use that math to then systematically lay out your content in a way that encourages the algorithms to serve it when it is most relevant, when it is most likely to be picked up, and when it is most likely to drive the desired outcome. Google used them to build a search engine, and now that search engine still works on YouTube. You can see better outcomes across all of these algorithm-driven platforms by aligning your content with the way the algorithms have been begging for years, asking forever. So tomorrow, the easiest way is to take all of your existing video content and map it to the current consumer states that you track across your org, from awareness all the way through repeat purchases. You need to start breaking them out in such a way and planning, if you don't have all of those, to begin collecting those in terms of video. So, you need to map your content over to these transition states. Make sure that you have the content library that allows you to meet your customers' demands and platforms. And then begin posting in patterns using the features that matter. Backlinking short form to long form videos to enable the algorithm to read it. They're all connected. Your audience is on these platforms doing these actions. And now it should be much easier for you to connect the dots for how to lay them out, or don't. It's amazing the amount of algorithmic real estate that's out there in the SEO space right now for videos. TikTok made me buy it has been ramping companies for years, and nobody has been able to effectively kind of package that into a predictable fashion that works. This allows for that. If you would like the spreadsheet that I kind of use to make these transitions across platforms, I'm more than happy to share it. Please add a comment in the video, send me an email over at the Jonas Agency. And also because I would like to see people putting out content, and I really have no interest in selling courses. I'm more interested in working with you on your direct campaign goals and building something even better than that. So hopefully this makes virality, understanding how the algorithms are serving content, a little bit easier to understand, and puts it in such a format that you're able to put it to work for you.